Marcus Chen stood in the assembly hall with 200 other cadets and tried not to feel small. The ceiling stretched up so high that Earth's biggest cathedral would fit inside with room to spare. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that came from living organisms embedded in the metal. And the cadets around him represented 47 different species from across the Galactic Coalition. Marcus was the only human. 3 years ago, humanity had been invited to join the Coalition after decades of observation and testing. Humans were still the new kids on the block, and everyone knew it. To his left stood Zix, a Litharian whose body looked like it was carved from purple crystal. The being was nearly 8 feet tall and could lift a transport vehicle without breaking a sweat. But Marcus had learned that Litharians were also incredibly fragile. One good impact in the right spot, and they would shatter like glass. To his right was Aura. Looked like someone had crossed a dolphin with a salamander and given it 4 arms. Quellans came from a high-gravity water world and were famous for their endurance. Aura had won every long-distance run in their training group, without even breathing hard. Behind him, Marcus could hear the heavy footsteps of Thek, a Kravor warrior whose species had been fighting wars for 10,000 years before humans discovered fire. Thek's armored hide could stop small-caliber weapons, and his family lineage traced back to the Kravor royal houses. These were Marcus's bunkmates, his training group, his competition. The doors at the far end of the hall opened, and Commander Kalix entered. The Vrex commander looked like a mantis had been crossed with a tank, standing 12 feet tall on 6 legs, with 4 arms and a head that could rotate completely around. His exoskeleton was decorated with scars from 100 battles, and his rank insignia glowed with Saviel. Bioluminescence. Cadets! Calix's voice boomed through the hall, without need for amplification. Today you face the Crucible. A nervous murmur rippled through the assembled cadets. Marcus had heard about the Crucible. Everyone had. It was the most feared test in the entire Interstellar Defense Academy. Cadets who passed became legends. Cadets who failed often left the academy entirely. The Crucible is not a test of strength, Calix continued. It is not a test of speed or intelligence. It is a test of will, a test of endurance, a test of your refusal to quit when every fiber of your being screams at you to stop. The commander's compound eyes swept across the crowd. You will enter the simulation chamber. You will wear neural feedback suits. These suits will replicate the experience of combat in the most hostile environments in the galaxy. You will feel pain. You will feel exhaustion. You will feel everything a warrior feels in true battle, except you will not die. Marcus felt his heart rate increase. He had trained for this. They all had. But hearing it described made it real in a way that training never could. The test has no time limit, Calix said. You continue until you voluntarily withdraw or until your body forces you to stop. The record for the longest time in the Crucible is 37 hours, set by Kravor champion Dresh the Immovable 3 decades ago. Most of you will not last 6 hours. Many will not last 3. Thek straightened behind Marcus, clearly motivated by the mention of a Kravor record holder. There is no shame in withdrawal, the commander continued. The Crucible is designed to find your breaking point. Everyone has one. What matters is that you push as far as you can before reaching it. Your time in the Crucible will be recorded and will factor into your final academy ranking. Zix leaned close to Marcus and whispered in a voice like wind chimes. How long do you think you will last, human? It was not said with malice. Zix was genuinely curious. Humans were still an unknown quantity in the academy. They were not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most durable. They came from a low-gravity world with a comfortable atmosphere and seemed almost fragile compared to many coalition species. I don't know, Marcus answered honestly. I guess we'll find out. I intend to surpass 6 hours, Aura said, quietly. My family expects nothing less, Feck declared. The honor of House Thek demands it. Crystalline structure gives me advantage in pain resistance, Zix added. I project 8 to 10 hours minimum. They all looked at Marcus. He shrugged. I'll just go until I can't anymore. The answer seemed to satisfy them, though Marcus caught what might have been pity in Aura's large eyes. The unspoken assumption was clear. The human would probably be among the first to drop out. Cadets, report to the preparation chambers, Collix commanded. The crucible begins in 1 hour. May your ancestors watch over you. The crowd began to move, a river of different species flowing toward the exits. Marcus went with them, his mind already racing ahead to what was coming. In the preparation chamber, technicians helped Marcus into the neural feedback suit. It looked like a second skin made of black material that covered him from neck to feet. Nodes pressed against his spine, his major joints, pressure points all over his body. First time in a neural suit? The technician asked, a small furry being whose name Marcus had never learned. Yes, Marcus confirmed. It will feel strange at first, the technician said. The suit interfaces directly with your nervous system. When the simulation says you are injured, your body will believe it. The pain will feel completely real. But remember, it is only simulation. You are not actually being harmed. How bad does it get? Marcus asked. Their head. Very bad, Cadet. Very bad. Marcus nodded and tried to swallow his nervousness. Around him, other cadets were being fitted with their own suits. Some looked confident. Others looked terrified. A few were already breathing hard with anticipation. Feck approached, his massive frame somehow fitted into a suit designed for his species. Human, the Cravor said, I want you to know, regardless of how long you last, you have earned respect by being here. Your species is young in the stars, but you show courage. Thanks, Marcus said, surprised by the gesture. When you drop out, Feck continued, there is no shame. I will buy you a drink afterward, and we will celebrate your effort. The assumption stung a little, but Marcus appreciated the sentiment behind it. Same to you, he replied with a slight smile. Feck's face, as much as a Cravor face could show expression, registered confusion at the idea that he might need such consolation. Then he laughed, a deep rumbling sound. You have spirit, human. I like that. The announcement echoed through the chamber. All cadets report to the crucible entrance. Testing begins in 5 minutes. Marcus took a deep breath, checked his suit one last time, and followed the crowd toward whatever was waiting for them. He had no idea that 52 hours later, he would become the most talked-about cadet in the Academy's 300-year history. He had no idea that this test would change how the entire Galactic Coalition viewed humanity. All he knew was that he was not going to be the first one to quit. That simple thought, that stubborn refusal to be the weakest link, was more powerful than he could possibly imagine. The doors to the crucible chamber opened like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. Marcus walked through, and everything changed. The simulation chamber was massive, a space that could have held a football stadium. The walls were lined with holographic projectors and gravity manipulators. The floor was divided into different zones that could simulate any terrain from any world in the Coalition. 200 cadets spread out across the starting area, each finding their designated position, marked by a glowing circle on the floor. Marcus stood in his circle and felt the neural suit activate fully. A tingling sensation ran up his spine and spread through his entire body. It felt like his skin was waking up after being asleep. Neural connection established, a calm computer voice announced. Crucible test beginning in 30 seconds. Marcus looked around at the other cadets. Some were stretching. Others were standing perfectly still in meditation. Feck was going through combat forms, his movements precise and practiced. 20 seconds. Nodded. A gesture of respect between warriors facing a challenge together. 10 seconds. Marcus's heart pounded. He forced himself to breathe slowly, In through the nose, out through the mouth, an old technique his high school track coach had taught him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. The world changed. The comfortable training chamber vanished, replaced by a rocky desert under a sky that burned orange and purple. The temperature spiked to what felt like 45 degrees Celsius. The gravity increased by 30%. Marcus's knees buckled slightly before he adjusted. "Welcome to Crucible," the voice boomed, now coming from somewhere above. "Your first scenario, Desert Survival March. You will proceed to the waypoint markers. You will complete each obstacle. You will continue until you cannot." A waypoint marker appeared in Marcus's vision, a glowing arrow pointing toward a cluster of rocks about half a kilometer. The cadets began moving. Within minutes, Marcus was sweating hard. The increased gravity made every step feel like he was carrying an extra 50 pounds. The heat pressed down on him like a physical weight. His neural suit sent signals of discomfort through his body. But it was manageable. He had grown up in Arizona. He knew heat. He had run cross-country in worse conditions than this, or at least conditions that felt similar. Around him, other cadets were struggling in different ways. Species from cold worlds were gasping in the heat. Species from low-gravity planets were stumbling under the increased weight. Marcus reached the first waypoint at the same time as most of the pack. A few speedsters had arrived earlier. A few stragglers were still making their way. "Obstacle 1, climb," the voice announced. A cliff face materialized in front of them, 30 meters of vertical rock with handholds that glowed to show the approved. Marcus started climbing. His fingers found the holds. His feet pushed against the rock. The neural suit made everything feel real. The rough texture of the stone, the strain in his muscles, the burning in his forearms. Halfway up, his left hand slipped. For a heart-stopping moment, Marcus swung free, hanging by one hand. The neural suit sent a spike of pain through his shoulder, and a flood of adrenaline through his system. He grabbed the rock with his free hand and kept climbing. At the top, he pulled himself over the edge and lay gasping for a moment. The sun beat down on him, sweat poured off his face, his muscles screamed. But he was not done, not even close. Obstacle 2, combat scenario. Enemy drones materialized around them, holographic but deadly within the simulation. They fired stun rounds that the neural suit translated into pain. Marcus dodged, rolled, found cover behind a rock. His training took over. Had practiced this 1,000 times. A drone shot caught him in the leg. White-hot pain exploded through his thigh. His leg buckled. The neural suit made him feel like he had just taken a real bullet. Marcus gritted his teeth and kept moving, dragging the injured leg, using his sidearm to take out the drones one by one. "That is what you will feel in real combat," the voice announced. "That is what warriors endure." Can you continue? Marcus could. He had to. The scenarios continued, one after another. Combat drills, endurance runs, problem-solving under pressure. Each one adding new injuries through the neural suit. Each one pushing the cadets further. After 3 hours, the first cadet withdrew. Marcus watched as a small amphibian being from Sector 7 simply stopped moving, sat down, and raised their hand in the surrender gesture. Medical drones swooped in, deactivated the cadet's suit, and carried them to the medical bay. Within the next hour, a dozen more cadets dropped out. Some were crying, overcome by the simulated pain. Others were calm, but exhausted. Their species simply not built for this kind of sustained stress. Marcus kept going. His body hurt everywhere. The neural suit had given him simulated burns, cuts, bruises, a cracked rib, a sprained ankle. His muscles felt like they were made of lead. Worse. There was that time he had food poisoning during finals week but still took all his exams. The time he broke his finger during a hockey game and finished the match. The summer he worked construction with an untreated back injury because he needed the money. Humans, Marcus was starting to realize, had a different relationship with pain than most species. At hour 5, Zix collapsed. The crystalline Litharian had been slowing down for the past 30 minutes, their movements becoming more and more jerky, when a simulated explosion sent them flying. They landed hard and simply did not get up. Cadet 6, withdrawal confirmed, the voice announced. Medical drones rushed in. Marcus felt a pang of sympathy. Zix had pushed hard, but their species' nervous system was too sensitive to the neural feedback. Hour 6 arrived like a hammer blow. The simulation shifted to a frozen tundra. The temperature plummeted. Marcus's suit made him feel like he was freezing. His teeth chattered. His fingers went numb. Around him, cadets were dropping like flies. Thek, the proud Craver warrior, fought on for another 10 minutes before his legs gave out. Marcus watched in surprise as the massive warrior fell to his knees, then to his side, breathing hard. Cadet Thek, withdrawal confirmed. More than half the starting group was gone now. The survivors looked like ghosts, moving slowly through the frozen landscape, faces blank with exhaustion and pain. Aura was still going. The Quellen's forearms pumped as they ran. Their species was built for this, for endurance beyond endurance. But even Aura was slowing down. Marcus put one foot in front of the other. His mind was starting to do something strange, something he had experienced during long-distance runs back on Earth. It was like he was separating from his body. The pain was there. He could feel it. But it was happening to someone else. His body screamed at him to stop. His neural suit bombarded him with signals of damage and exhaustion. But his brain just kept sending the same message to his legs. One more step, just one more step. And then, another step after that, and another. The frozen tundra gave way to a jungle, hot and humid. Rain poured down. The ground turned to mud. Marcus slipped, fell face first into the muck, felt the neural suit register new bruises and scrapes. He pushed himself up and kept walking. Around him, more cadets were stopping. By the time hour 7 arrived, only 20 cadets remained. By hour 8, only 12. Aura was still going. So were a pair of Rex twins who moved in perfect synchronization. A Quellen admiral's daughter, who looked like she could go forever. A Cravor prince, who had something to prove. And Marcus, the human who should have quit hours ago. Somehow, still moving. In the medical bay where the eliminated cadets were recovering, Thek sat up on his bed and stared at the holographic display showing the remaining participants. "The human is still in?" he asked in disbelief. "Confirmed," the medical officer replied. "Cadet Chen shows signs of extreme exhaustion, but has not withdrawn." Zix materialized next to Thek's bed. The Litharian's crystalline body was wrapped in healing fields. "How?" Zix asked. "His species is not known for pain tolerance. They come from an easy world. How is he still functioning?" Thek shook his head slowly. "I do not understand," the Cravor admitted. "I pushed myself to my absolute limit. My pain receptors were screaming. My body was shutting down to prevent damage. It is impossible to continue beyond that point." "Perhaps humans are built differently," the medical officer suggested. On the holographic display, Marcus stumbled through another obstacle. Course, fell, got up, kept moving. His face was blank, eyes unfocused, moving like a machine that had forgotten how to stop. Thek watched in growing respect and growing horror. Whatever humans were, they were not what anyone had expected. In the simulation chamber, Marcus's internal monologue had become very simple. Not dead yet, he thought. Therefore, keep going. It was not sophisticated. It was not elegant, but it was effective. Hour 9 began. Marcus was still moving, and he had started to smile. Hour 12 arrived, and the academy was in chaos. What had started as a routine training exercise had become a spectacle. Word had spread throughout the station that something unprecedented was happening in the Crucible chamber. Instructors who had been sweeping were woken up. Senior officers abandoned their meetings. Even the Academy Commandant herself had come down to the observation deck. The holographic displays showed 5 remaining cadets. Aura still moved with determination, though their forearms were shaking with exhaustion. The Quellan had already exceeded their species' average crucible time by 3 hours. The twin Vrex warriors maintained their synchronized movements, though their exoskeletons were showing stress fractures in the simulation. The Cravor Prince, youngest son of the ruling house, refused to quit despite his body's obvious deterioration. And Marcus, the human who should not still be standing, his vital signs are in the acceptable range, the medical officer reported to Commander Calix. Elevated heart rate, high cortisol, extreme fatigue, but nothing that indicates imminent collapse. That makes no sense, Calix replied, his mandibles clicking with agitation. Look at the neural feedback. His suit is registering pain levels that should have forced shutdown 6 hours ago. Yes, Commander. Then why is he still moving? The medical officer had no answer. On the screens, Marcus was navigating an obstacle course that simulated a collapsing building. Debris fell around him, fires erupted. His neural suit told him he was being burned, crushed, suffocated. He coughed, stumbled, fell to one knee. Fascinating, someone said from behind Calix. The commander turned to see Professor Venn, the Academy's chief xenobiologist, a Quellan scholar who had studied hundreds of species. Acknowledged? What brings you here? I heard we have a human doing something impossible, Professor Venn replied, their large eyes fixed on the displays. I had to see for myself. Can you explain this? Perhaps, Venn said slowly. I have been researching human biology since they joined the coalition. They are a fascinating species, full of contradictions. Explain. Humans evolved on a world that should have killed them, Venn began. Their planet has extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases that attack their immune systems constantly. They are physically weaker than most large predators on their world, slower than most prey animals. I know this, Professor. What does it have to do with? They survive through persistence, Venn interrupted, a rare breach of protocol that showed their excitement. Humans hunted by chasing prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They did not need to be fast. They just needed to never stop. Calix's compound eyes widened. You are saying, I am saying that human nervous systems evolved to tolerate sustained discomfort in ways we cannot fully understand. Venn continued, their brains produce chemicals that dull pain, create artificial energy, trick the body into continuing past its normal limits. They call it adrenaline, endorphins, dozens of other compounds. But the pain levels are real to us, Venn said, but humans process pain differently. Their brains can compartmentalize it, ignore it, even reinterpret it. They have a saying on Earth, pain is just weakness leaving the body. A ridiculous statement by any logical standard, but they believe it. On the display, hour 13 arrived. Aura finally stopped. The Quellan Admiral's daughter had reached her absolute limit. She raised her hand in the surrender gesture, tears streaming down her face. Cadet Aura, withdrawal confirmed. The medical drones collected her. 4 cadets remained. By hour 15, the Cravor Prince was done. His pride could not overcome his biology. He collapsed without ceremony and was carried out. 3 cadets. Hour 18. The twin Vrex warriors stopped simultaneously, their perfect synchronization maintained even in defeat. And then there was one. Marcus stood alone in the simulation chamber, the only cadet still active out of the original 200. In the observation deck, complete silence. By the ancestors, Calix whispered. Marcus took a step forward, then another, moving through a simulation of a toxic swamp. The neural suit told him he was being poisoned. His skin was dissolving, his lungs were burning. He kept walking. And then, to everyone's shock, he laughed. It started as a small chuckle, then grew into full laughter. "Is he having a psychological break?" Calix demanded. A medical officer frantically checked their displays. "Negative, Commander. Brain activity shows he is fully coherent. He is genuinely amused by something." "Amused? Amused? He is in more pain than any cadet has ever endured in Crucible history. What could possibly be funny?" As if hearing the question, Marcus spoke aloud to himself, his voice picked up by the suit's microphones. "This is so stupid," Marcus said between laughs. "This is the dumbest thing I have ever done. And I once tried to move a couch down 3 flights of stairs by myself because I was too proud to ask for help." He stumbled over a root, nearly fell into the toxic water, caught himself at the last second. "Oh man, Coach Robertson would be losing his mind right now," Marcus continued, still laughing. "Remember that practice where he made us run until we puked? This is like that, but like way worse, but also kind of the same." The observers exchanged confused glances. "Is he talking to himself?" someone asked. "Apparently," Calix replied. "Is that normal for humans?" No one knew. Marcus kept walking, kept talking, kept laughing. "The thing is," he said, "the thing is, I know this is just simulation, right? Like, I know I am not actually dying, which means I can keep going, because what is it actually costing me? Some discomfort? Some tiredness?" He climbed over a boulder, his movements shaky but determined. "My dad always said if you're going to do something, do it right. Do it until it is done. No half measures," Marcus continued. "So here we are, doing the thing, being real thorough about it." Another laugh. "Also, I really want to beat whatever the record is, just so I can say I did. That is probably spite. Spite is a powerful motivator." Professor Venn leaned forward, fascinated. "Commander," the xenobiologist said quietly, "I believe we are witnessing something that humans call hysterical laughter." "Explain." "When humans are pushed to extreme stress, some of them begin to find humor in the absurdity of their situation," Venn said. "It is a psychological defense mechanism. By laughing, they distance themselves from the pain. They reframe suffering as something ridiculous rather than something terrible." "That is insane." "Yes," Venn agreed. "From our perspective, it absolutely is. But for humans, it appears to be quite effective." Hour 20 passed. Marcus was still laughing occasionally, still talking to himself, still moving. The Academy had never seen anything like this. Commander Calix made a decision. "I am going to speak to him," the commander announced. "Says, protocol can wait. I need to understand what we are dealing with." Calix activated the communication system. "Cadet Chen," his voice boomed through the simulation chamber. Marcus looked up, searching for the source of the voice. "Hey, Commander," Marcus replied, his voice hoarse but cheerful. "What is up?" The casual tone shocked Calix. No cadet had ever spoken to him like that. "Cadet, are you aware that you are the only participant remaining?" "Oh yeah, figured that out a while ago," Marcus said. "When did the last one drop?" 47 minutes ago." "Cool, cool, so what is the record I'm trying to beat?" Calix hesitated. 37 hours, set by Cravor champion Dresh. 37 hours, Marcus repeated, then laughed again. Okay, that is a lot of hours, but like, doable, probably, maybe. Cadet Chen, you have already exceeded all expectations. You have nothing to prove. You can withdraw with honor. Nah, Marcus said simply, I am good. You are in severe pain. I mean, yeah, obviously, but like, I have been in pain before. This is just more of it, you know? Calix did not know. Cadet, I am ordering you to. With respect, Commander. No, Marcus interrupted. I started this thing. I am going to finish it. That is how we do things where I come from. You do not quit just because it is hard. The communication channel went silent. Calix stared at the human on the display, this small being from a species nobody had taken seriously, this creature that should have been broken hours ago. And the human waved at the cameras, smiled, and kept walking. By all the ancestors, Calix said softly, what have we welcomed into the coalition? Hour 24 arrived. Marcus was still going. The news had spread beyond the academy now, across the coalition networks. Beings from 100 worlds were watching the live feed. The human who would not quit. The human who laughed at pain. The human who was rewriting everything they thought they knew about endurance. And Marcus, oblivious to his growing fame, just kept putting one foot in front of the other. Because that was what humans did. They persisted. Hour 30 was when the galactic scientific community lost their collective minds. The live feed from the Crucible Chamber had been picked up by news networks across 12 sectors. Xenobiologists from 40 species were frantically pulling up every piece of data they had on human physiology, and the Academy Medical Bay had become an impromptu research center. Marcus was still moving. This should not be possible, Dr. Pillix said for the 20th time, the insectoid physician's antenna twitching with agitation. Look at these readings. His muscle tissue should be breaking down. His neural system should be in shock. His cardiovascular system should have failed hours ago. Professor Venn studied the data streams with fascination. But it has not failed. The Quellan xenobiologist replied. His body is producing compounds we have never seen in such quantities. His adrenal system has been in overdrive for 20 hours. By rights, he should have burned out his energy reserves completely. Then where's the energy coming from? I have a theory, Venn said slowly. Humans have what they call fat reserves, stored energy throughout their body. I believe his system is breaking down these reserves and converting them to usable energy in real time. That is horrifically inefficient. Yes, but it works. On the displays, Marcus was navigating a zero-gravity scenario. The simulation placed him in a damaged spacecraft, debris floating everywhere. His neural suit registered impacts and radiation exposure. He bounced off a wall, grabbed a handhold, pulled himself forward. His movements were slow now, mechanical, but they never stopped. I have another observation, a medical technician added. His brain activity shows something unusual. The pain centers are active, registering everything, but there is also increased activity in what humans call the prefrontal cortex. Decision-making center. Meaning what? Dr. Pillix asked. Meaning he is consciously choosing to ignore the pain signals, the technician explained. His brain is receiving the message that he is in distress, but he is mentally overriding it, deciding that the pain is irrelevant. A long silence fell over the medical bay. That is the most terrifying thing I have ever heard, Dr. Pillix said quietly. In the observation deck, Commander Calix stood with his command staff, watching the impossible continue to unfold. The Crucible was designed to find breaking points, the commander said. Every species has them. We calibrated the test based on data from over 300 species across 200 years of Academy history. Humans were not in that data set, his second-in-command noted. No, they were not, Calix agreed. And now we know why this is a problem. Hour 32 arrived. Marcus was talking to himself. Again, his voice had become hoarse from dehydration, despite the simulation's attempts to regulate his fluid levels. You know what is weird? Marcus said, moving through a simulation of a firefight, plasma bolts flying past him. I am not even that tough back home. Like, I am pretty average for a human. My grandmother ran a marathon when she was 73. My Uncle Mike worked a 12-hour shift at the factory with a broken arm because he needed the overtime. My cousin Lisa hiked 20 miles on a sprained ankle because she did not want to ruin the camping trip. He ducked behind cover, returned fire at holographic enemies. Humans are just like this. We just keep going because stopping seems harder than continuing. Does that make sense? It probably does not make sense in the context of an ordinary life expectancy. In the medical bay, this monologue was being analyzed by every xenobiologist present. His grandmother ran a marathon at 73 standard years, someone asked in disbelief. Humans typically live to 80 or 90 years, Professor Venn confirmed. She was in the final quarter of her lifespan, still performing extreme endurance activities. "What kind of death world produces that?" someone asked. "Earth is not even classified as a death world," Ven replied. "It is rated as a medium difficulty survival environment, comfortable temperatures, abundant water, moderate gravity." "Then how?" "I do not think the environment is the full answer," Ven interrupted. "I think this is cultural, psychological. Humans have built their entire civilization around this concept of persistence. They have sayings about it. Never give up. No pain, no gain. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. With stories of heroes who succeeded through sheer refusal to quit." That is absurd. And yet, Ven gestured to the display where Marcus was still moving. "Here we are." Hour 37 arrived, the previous record. Marcus had been informed of this milestone. His response was to laugh again. Okay, new record, that is cool," he said. "But like, I came this far, might as well keep going, right? What is a few more hours?" A few more hours turned into 5 more hours. Hour 40 found Marcus in a simulation of a volcanic planet. Lava flows erupted around him. The heat was beyond anything the Crucible had thrown at anyone before. He was limping now. His simulated injuries had accumulated to the point where he was moving at a fraction of his original speed. But he was moving. Why? Commander Calix asked aloud. Why does he not just stop? What is driving him? No one had an answer. In the chamber, Marcus was asking himself the same question. Why am I still doing this? He muttered. Pride? Stubbornness? The fact that I told myself I would not quit and now I feel obligated to follow through? He climbed over a lava rock, his hands shaking. Dad always said, a man is only as good as his word. If you say you are going to do something, you do it. No excuses, no complaints. You just do the work. Another step forward. Also, this is really going to annoy Thek, and I kind of want to see his face when he finds out how long I lasted. That is definitely petty. I am running on pettiness and spite now. Truly the most powerful of human emotions. Hour 45. The simulation shifted to an Arctic battlefield. Enemies attacked from all sides. The cold was brutal after the heat of the previous scenario. Marcus fought. His movements were slow but efficient. His training carrying him through, even as his conscious mind started to drift. Fun fact about humans, he said to no one. We can enter what we call autopilot, where your body just does things without your brain really being involved. Like when you drive the same route every day, and suddenly you're home, but you don't remember the drive. That is happening right now. My body is just going through the motions. Hour 48. Marcus's speech had become slurred. His eyes were half closed, but his legs kept moving. I wonder what is for breakfast, he mumbled. I could really go for pancakes. Or waffles. Waffles sound better. With syrup, and maybe some eggs. Definitely eggs. Protein is important. The medical staff watched with growing concern. He is approaching delirium, Dr. Pillix warned. We should force termination. No, Commander Calix said firmly. He has not signaled withdrawal. We wait. Marcus stumbled, fell to his knees. The simulation had placed him in a desert again, back where it all started. For a long moment he just knelt there, swaying slightly. Everyone watching held their breath. Then Marcus pushed himself back to his feet. Not dead yet, he said, the words becoming his mantra. Still moving, still going, just need to. He took a step, then another. 52 hours, he said suddenly, his voice gaining clarity for a moment. That is the number, 52. Dad stayed awake for 52 hours when I was born. Complications. Mom needed support. The whole time. Never left her side. Marcus looked up at the sky in the simulation, at the artificial sun beating down. 52 hours. That is the Chen family record, and I am going to match it, because that is what we do. He walks forward with renewed purpose, drawing on reserves that should not exist. Hour 51. Marcus was crying now, though he probably did not realize it. Tears streaming down his face, mixing with sweat and simulated blood. Almost there, he whispered. Almost done. Just a little more. Just a little more. The academy had gone completely silent. Thousands of beings watching this human push himself beyond all reasonable limits. Beyond survival instinct. Beyond pain. Beyond exhaustion. Reaching for something that only humans seem to understand. This irrational, illogical, beautiful refusal to accept defeat. Hour 52 arrived. Marcus stopped walking. Stood still for a moment, swaying, his eyes unfocused. Then he smiled. A genuine warm smile. 52 hours, he said clearly. Okay, I think that is good. I am done now. He raised his hand in the surrender gesture. Cadet Chen, withdrawal confirmed. The simulation vanished. The neural suit deactivated. The chamber lights came up. Marcus stood alone in the vast space. 200 cadets had started. Only one had made it this far. Hey, he called out to the observation deck. What is for breakfast? Then his legs gave out and he collapsed. Medical drones swarmed immediately, but they need not have rushed. Marcus was unconscious before he hit the ground, but he was smiling. Marcus woke up 18 hours later in the medical bay. His first thought was that everything hurt. His second thought was that he was incredibly hungry. Cadet Chen, a voice said, please remain still. You are recovering from extreme physical stress. Marcus turned his head, slowly, because even that hurt, and saw Dr. Pillix standing beside his medical bed. Did I finish? Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. You lasted 52 hours and 11 minutes, the doctor confirmed. You set a new academy record by over 15 hours. Cool, Marcus said. Then, can I have some food? The doctor's antenna twitched in what might have been amusement. Your species is remarkable, Pillix said. You collapsed completely. Every system in your body was operating at minimal capacity. And your first concern upon waking is food. I am really hungry, Marcus explained, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. Within minutes, medical staff brought him what could only be described as a feast. Proteins, carbohydrates, hydration packs. Marcus ate like he had not seen food in weeks. While he ate, Dr. Pillix reviewed the medical data. Your recovery rate is also unusual, the doctor noted. Most cadets require days of treatment after the crucible. Some need weeks. But your vital signs are already returning to normal baseline. Another 12 hours, and you will be cleared for light activity. Humans bounce back pretty quick, Marcus said between bites. It's kind of our thing. The door to the medical bay opened, and Commander Collix entered, flanked by Professor Venn and several other senior officers. Marcus tried to stand at attention, winced, and settled for a seated salute. At ease, cadet, Collix said. I think you have earned some informality. Thank you, sir, Marcus replied. The commander studied Marcus for a long moment. Compound eyes, taking in every detail of the human before him. I need to understand what happened in that chamber, Collix said. I need to understand how you did what you did. Marcus shrugged, then regretted it as his shoulders protested. I just did not want to quit, sir, he said honestly. Everything else kind of followed from that. But the pain, the exhaustion, we have tested hundreds of species. All of them have biological limits that force them to stop. You should have those same limits. Oh, I definitely have limits, Marcus replied. I hit them around hour 6, maybe hour 8. After that I was basically just, I don't know, running on fumes and stubbornness. Professor Venn stepped forward. May I ask you some questions, Cadet Chen, for research purposes? Sure. When did you first consider withdrawing from the test? Around hour 2, when the climbing simulation hurt my shoulders. But then I thought about how embarrassing it would be to be the first human to quit, so I kept going. And at what point did the pain become unbearable? Unbearable. Marcus frowned. I mean, it was really bad. Like, really, really bad. But unbearable suggests I could not bear it. And I did, so I guess it never got to unbearable. The assembled officers exchanged glances. Let me rephrase, Ven continued. At what point did your body demand that you stop? My body was demanding I stop the entire time, Marcus said with a slight laugh. I just decided not to listen to it. You decided not to listen to your survival instincts? Yeah, I mean, my brain knew it was a simulation. Nothing was actually going to kill me. So what was the point of quitting? The only real consequence was discomfort. And I have been uncomfortable before. Then made rapid notes on a datapad. Fascinating. Your species can consciously override self-preservation responses. Cannot everyone? Marcus asked. No, Cadet Chen, they cannot. When a craver reaches their pain threshold, their body forces them to stop. They have no choice. It is a biological safety mechanism. Most species have similar systems. Humans have those too, Marcus said. We call it passing out. But there's a pretty big gap between this hurts a lot and unconscious. And in that gap, we can just keep going. The room fell silent. Commander Calix finally spoke, his voice carrying a weight of realization. We need to inform the Coalition Council. Sir, one of the officers asked. We have been evaluating humans based on their physical capabilities, strength, speed, durability, and by those metrics, they are average or below average for Coalition species. Calix turned to look at Marcus. But we have been measuring the wrong things. Humans are not dangerous because they are strong. They are dangerous because they do not stop. They cannot be broken because they refuse to acknowledge they are breaking. That is a bit dramatic, sir, Marcus said, though he was secretly pleased by the assessment. Is it? Calix challenged. Tell me, Cadet Chen, if I had not set 52 hours as your goal, how long would you have continued? Marcus considered the question seriously. I do not know, sir. Probably until I actually passed out, which the medical staff said would have been around hour 60, maybe hour 70. Every person in the room stared at him. You would have continued for another 8 to 18 hours? Dr. Pillix asked in horror. Probably, yeah. I mean, I was already past the point of no return. Might as well see how far I could go. By the ancestors, someone whispered. The door burst open, and Thek stormed in. The massive Craver warrior had clearly been waiting for news of Marcus's awakening. Human, Thek bellowed, then immediately lowered his voice when medical staff glared at him. Human, I need to speak with you. Hey Thek, Marcus replied. How are you doing? How am I? Thek stopped, seemed to struggle with words. I lasted 6 hours. I trained my entire life for the Crucible. My family has produced warriors for 10,000 years, and I lasted 6 hours. That is pretty good, Marcus offered. You lasted 52. Well, yeah, but... There is no but, Thek interrupted. You have made me reconsider everything I thought I knew about strength and endurance, about what it means to be a warrior. The Craver approached Marcus's bed, then did something that shocked everyone in the room. Respect, Marcus Chen, and the respect of House Thek. What you did in that chamber was stupid, Marcus suggested. Legendary, Thek corrected, and I am honored to call you my bunkmate. Over the next few days, Marcus's story spread across the Academy, then across the Coalition. Cadets who had dismissed humans as weak newcomers suddenly wanted to train with Marcus, to learn his techniques, to understand his mindset. The Academy medical staff published a paper on human endurance capabilities that became required reading in military academies across 12 sectors. The Crucible test parameters were revised, adding a new difficulty setting specifically calibrated for human biology. Though even with the adjusted difficulty, no other human cadet managed to match Marcus's time for another 3 years. 3 months after the test, Marcus was helping run training sessions for new cadets. A young Cravor warrior approached him after a particularly brutal endurance drill. Cadet Chen, how do you do it? How do you push through when everything in your body screams to stop? Marcus thought about the question, the same one he had been asked dozens of times. Honestly, he said, I just decide that stopping is not an option. And then I do not stop. It sounds simple because it is simple. Humans are not complicated. We just keep going. What about exhaustion? Marcus replied, they are just feelings, uncomfortable feelings, but they are not actually stopping you. Your body can do way more than your brain thinks it can. You just have to be willing to find out where the real limits are. The young Cravor looked uncertain. Try this, Marcus continued. Next time you are in a difficult situation and you think you cannot continue, tell yourself you will do just one more minute. Then when that minute is done, do one more. Eventually you will actually hit your limit, but I guarantee it is further than you think. One more minute, the cadet repeated. One more minute, Marcus confirmed. Humans run on stubbornness and spite, and the refusal to be the one who quits first. It is not sophisticated, but it works. Later that evening, Marcus sat with his original bunkmates in the common area. Thek, Zix, and Aura had become close friends despite their rocky start. Question. Aura said, and I hope it does not offend. P. Go ahead, Marcus replied. P. Are all humans like you? Do you all have this ability to ignore your own limitations? Marcus laughed. I am not special back home, he said. There are humans who run for days across deserts, who climb mountains without oxygen, who swim across oceans, who work multiple jobs on no sleep because their family needs them. What I did in the Crucible, that is just Tuesday for some people on Earth. That is terrifying, Zix said, their crystalline structure flickering with concern. Maybe, Marcus agreed, but it is also why humanity survived long enough to reach the stars. We are not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest, but we are absolutely the most stubborn, and sometimes that is enough. Thek raised his drink, a traditional Craver gesture of respect. To stubbornness, then, the warrior said. And spite, Marcus added with a grin. And the refusal to know when you are beaten, Aura contributed. To humanity, Zix finished, the species that doesn't know how to quit. They drank together, representatives of 4 different species from 4 different worlds, and in that moment, something shifted in the galaxy's understanding of Earth's children. Humans were not joining the coalition as subjects or supplicants. They were joining as equals. That could produce Marcus Chen. An average human, by his own admission, was not a species to be underestimated. They would fight beside the coalition's warriors. They would endure what others could not. They would laugh in the face of impossible odds. And they would never, ever quit. Somewhere in the Academy archives, the official report on the Crucible incident concluded with a single recommendation. When assigning humans to combat operations, do not ask how long they can fight. Humans will fight until they physically cannot. The better question is, how do we support them through what they will inevitably put themselves through? Commander Collix approved the recommendation and added one more note. The galaxy was not prepared for humanity. But humanity does not seem to care whether we are ready or not. They are here, they are staying, and we will adapt, because the alternative is trying to stop them. Anyone wants to try stopping a species that runs on spite. Marcus Chen never did match his 52-hour record, but that was fine. He had proven what he needed to prove. Humans belonged among the stars, and they would persist there, just like they had persisted on Earth, through sheer bloody-minded refusal to accept anything less. The story of the human who laughed at pain became legend, and the galaxy learned an important lesson. Never bet against a human who has something to prove, because they will prove it, even if it kills them, and sometimes especially because it might.